Good afternoon and welcome. We are going to talk. Maybe this is over your lunchtime if you're watching it live, maybe you're watching it back later, but really happy to host a session with Alison from Avocado Social, where we're going to talk about social media myths. We both work in consultancy and training. In fact, we've collaborated on a number of projects over the years since we've known each other, and we swapped stories and thought it might make an interesting live discussion to share some of those kind of common questions that we get asked. I think when we were talking about doing this, some of these have been the same questions for many, many years. Some just don't disappear and stick around, and then some new ones appear as well. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Alison, for doing this with me. I'm really looking forward to whether we know what we're going to cover, but I'm sure we've both got different ideas on some of these topics as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. There's some that just come around again and again, and we get asked about all the time on our workshops and training, don't we?
Yeah.
But then there's certainly new rumours that come out. And I think for me, what I'm always really surprised about is just how much traction a rumour can gather. And, once everybody's sort of saying it, honestly, people believe it. And I think our job today is to bust some of those myths so that people have a better idea about what's necessarily best practice and what's kind of more subject to testing and experimenting as well.
Yeah, because I think it's really, some of these things we do see them in LinkedIn posts, in Facebook posts, in emails as well. And you kind of go, where has this started, and try and find the original source. And I guess because we are teaching and training this topic, we do have the opportunity to kind of sit back and think about how would this work? Does this, how does this play out? Whereas I know that if you are maybe in an in-house or agency role and you're kind of diving into things and looking for new ideas and ways of doing things that are going to make those improvements to your results, you don't always have the time to kind of digest them and maybe apply them to different scenarios as well. So that's hopefully what we're going to share with you over the next maybe 45 minutes or so. And we have a list that we pre-prepared, and we're going to run through those in no particular order because there is no particular order. But if you have any feedback, thoughts, questions of your own that you'd like us to talk about, please do use the chat. We will keep one eye on that as we go through the session. We'd love to get your interaction as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Shall I start with, as we said, no particular order, but I'm going to cover it first. AI. AI in the world of social media. Maybe there's a few myths around this one of like, is it taking over? Is it going to take our jobs for anyone that's working in social media marketing? And my take on this is, yes, the social media platforms are introducing a number of paid features in many different ways. Some of these have been around for a long time. Some are like spelling check-in, using Grammarly kind of plugins and things like that. Some additional features, transparency around tagging your images if they have been created with AI. But I think my overall take on AI, and is it going to take our jobs if we're working in social media marketing, that really I'm seeing it as a tool to assist me, maybe as like some productivity, time saving, maybe as I work by myself, I'm at home by myself most of the time, like my critical friend, my partner that I have a chat with to bounce ideas off and reiterate things. But I would see it as a tool, not a replacement. And I think the other thing I see a lot about AI, if we scroll through our feeds, if we were to do that live, it has a challenge of it around authenticity. And if people can spot the use of AI, and I know you did a reel, didn't you, of like ways you can spot an obvious AI written social media post, that people just don't like that. They don't like the obvious use of it. It still does need that authentic tone of voice, the input, the editing into your own style. So you take out the rocket emoji and the word delve and things like that.
Yes, it's that long ChatGPT dash that I think is the telltale sign, because you just don't really see that anywhere else other than something that ChatGPT has written. I heard someone say once, your AI created content is only as good as the prompt that you create. And so
Yeah.
it still gives the power to the person who is writing that prompt, the social media marketer who is describing what they want out of that LLM. So I would definitely agree with you there, Luann, that, you know, it's not taking our jobs, but I think what we do need to do is make sure that we're all well versed in how you can use the tool and
Yeah.
how to use it correctly as well, and not become lazy marketers either.
I think the almost my worst bit is the AI generated comments where it regurgitates the post back to you. And
Yeah.
it's almost like you would never do that in real life. You'd never summarize those were great points, Alison, 1, 2, 3, 4, and say it back. So I think it's about keeping that human side of it, and how you would interact face to face
Yeah.
is what works best on social.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. So, what about moving on to the next myth, which is something that's been talked about a lot in the last few weeks, which is don't include links in your social media posts because they ruin your reach. What do you think
Yeah.
about that one?
This has always been a big one for me, and this almost like this is the one that makes me squirm when it gets to the Q&A bit, because we do, and it is one of those things that you read about and then people start doing, and then it's, you know, it's talked about so much. I've got two answers to this, in that social media posts aren't just about reach. So there's different things you can do if you are focused on reach, the kind of awareness, wanting visibility on your content for maybe people that haven't come across you before, where potentially you wouldn't be including links anyway in that style of post. Whereas I think when you are using links, it's because you want someone to do something, and therefore I think you do need to include a link. So if you need someone to visit a website to download a white paper and fill in a form, or if you need them to go to Eventbrite to register for something, like a link is required. And then for me, there's a couple of things thinking about, do you really need to include a link? We still, you know, back in the, we can say it, the old days of social media, particularly when Twitter was 140 characters, a post was very much like, here's my headline, go and read the rest. We're not going to do that anymore. The character length of posts has got a lot longer. So for me, I think it's keep them on the platform by giving them all the information. No one's got the time to be that interested in a headline to go and read it elsewhere. But for me, if you do need that link, I don't put them in the comments. I find it really frustrating, because if me as a user, I'm like, oh, I've got to go and find it. What if there's lots of comments here and I can't find it? I've got to scroll through, like I've got to do something else. You've made it more difficult for me. And in particular, if a post gets shared and the link is in the comments, it's even harder to go and find that link. So I've lost the opportunity for that event sign up, or, you know, the website form fill in. So I think for me, it's, do you really need a link? And if you do need one, just make it easy to find. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Alison has just commented, Alison Page, who says, I thought the current thinking is to include the link in the first comment or something. And that is one of those myths and rumors that does kind of go around social media, is put the link in the first comments, or the first comment. I don't think it's, you know, we've experimented with it with a few clients, and it doesn't really make a huge difference in terms of the reach. If anything, the more engagement you get on the post, the more reach you will eventually attract. So the clarity of the post and how good the storytelling is and the piece of content attached are more important to focus on.
Yeah, I think like these little hacks feel like you're going to get something extra by doing these tricks. But, you know, one that can add more time onto your work, particularly if you do use schedulers, for example. As I said, it adds more time to the user. So I'm happy, if it was true, to drop a little bit of reach to get the action I need and to not make it tiresome for people. And I know we were also chatting about this during the prep. Like, you might be being asked to drive traffic to your website and might be being asked to do this. And where I am, it's notorious for local press to be doing such vague headlines, then the link in the comments. So like one this morning was like major motorway closed, as the graphic. Then you have to go to the link, and actually all anyone's doing, anyone else commenting is going, oh, it's this motorway and it's this junction. So they're not getting the link anyway, because it's really kind of winding people up that things are a bit clickbaity. So I think for me, it's one of those, if it did affect reach, I'm happy to lose that for making life easier and happier for my followers.
The other thing to consider as well is, obviously there are bots that will do this for you, but something like ManyChat, where you actually say, if you want the link, if you want the report, the white paper, the video, just DM me. And I've seen people filter that method across to LinkedIn as well. Comment this word and I'll drop you all of the resources in your messenger inbox. Which could be a nice functionality for people to try out. I actually did one the other day, and it went a bit wrong because the person who I commented on then had to reply to my comment and say, we're not connected, so I can't send you a message until we're connected, because they've got a premium account. So then that added a lot more friction to the to the method. And luckily I'm on LinkedIn all day, every day anyway, so I could easily just reply. But I might not have logged in for another 3 days. And then that's quite a long customer journey to then finally get the download 3 days after I saw the post, and I've sort of forgotten it and don't really care about the report anymore. So I think you're absolutely right. If it's going to make it difficult for your audience to find what they need in that moment, then I probably would avoid doing it.
Cool. There's some great things coming in the chat, so we'll already digress from our list. Sue said, what do we think about the clickbait line, then the 2 to 3 carriage returns before the real content? So I guess this is kind of trying to get the see more to appear, isn't it?
It is. I mean, there's some people that do it very well, and what I will say is they are consistent. So I do follow quite a few people on LinkedIn who will do a daily post in the same format, with all the line spacing, with that payoff right at the end. And I do find their storytelling very compelling, and I will sit and read all of their posts, but they do that very well and they do it consistently. So I think if you're going to choose one of those styles, my thinking would be, don't just do it once and then be like, it didn't work. Give it a real go before you decide whether or not that has generated your engagement.
It's kind of when you get to know people and their style, and you like their content, and you know it's going to add value, you'll read it or you'll watch the video. But if almost like that first impression doesn't work for you, you're going to disappear and kind of see it as one of those. You feel cheated, you feel hacked, don't you? And the clickbait, you kind of go, oh, that wasn't what I wanted or what I expected. I've lost a minute to that, to not do it. So people are saying they don't like clickbait. There's a couple of others. Actually, a good one from Benjamin. How do you feel about the smaller link previews on LinkedIn? Do you let them be, or do you add a link and a relevant image? Feels like we come full circle with links in that sense. It's about real estate on the page, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we know at the moment on LinkedIn that some of the best performing pieces of content you can post are documents, so those kind of sliding carousels, and also multi-image posts where you've got like 2, 3, 4, 5 different photos. Video also, although in the UK it's not as big at the moment because they have removed the video tab in the mobile app for the moment. Video is making huge waves in the US. So I think for me, link previews are actually kind of like 4th, maybe even 5th in place after polls. So it's not a content format I would choose to do. I would always try and make sure that that post was visually engaging in the best possible way, using like a full vertical image, portrait image, rather than a tiny little preview or something landscape. If it was a link preview in the comments section, I think that's fine. And I think I would keep that in there as well.
The questions are coming, but let's go back to our list, shall we? I'm going to ask you this one before it goes in the chat. Hashtags.
Oh,
Are hashtags dead? Are we still using them? What's your take?
oh my goodness. I think I talk about hashtags on a daily basis,
Every
but
day.
hey, I work in social media, so I
Yeah.
can't complain. So hashtags have gone through a bit of a facelift in recent years. Gone are the days, I think, where we post 30. Remember when you used to put 30 in on
Yeah.
Instagram?
Yeah.
So they have been reducing in terms of how many we use over the years, and actually their functionality has changed as
Yeah.
well. So we used to put in a hashtag to not only categorize our content, but also make it searchable. So if somebody was searching for a particular hashtag at an event, or they wanted the latest Glastonbury news, they might put in hashtag Glastonbury. Now, all of the content in your caption is searchable. So
Yeah.
you don't actually need to put in a hashtag if you've got that word in your caption anyway, because it will still make that post ranked in the search, both within the platform itself and now within Google as well. So as of Thursday, all public posts will be available to show up in Google search results, which is really exciting, I think.
Yeah.
So we've removed the need for hashtags. However, there are still niche communities that will engage with each other on particular hashtags. I'd say TikTok is probably the leading platform at the moment for this. So
Yeah.
TikTok has these well-known communities called talks. So you could have a book talk or a clean talk where it's all cleaning videos. And they're essentially hashtags which signify which community this video belongs in. So identifying and using talks can be a great way to get your content out to new people on TikTok. On other platforms, the behavior to search for a hashtag has faded. I mean, we're just not doing it. Instagram has even removed the functionality to search for a hashtag. They would now prefer that you're searching for a keyword or a particular phrase in the search. And that's become commonplace. You know, more people now will search for, you know, Father's Day gift ideas than hashtag Father's Day 2025. So our behavior has changed. What I would do as a social media marketer is identify whether there are any hashtags that you can add to a post which don't just repeat words that are already in your caption.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a particular campaign name or brand hashtag that you'd like to use, or a community that you'd like to get in front of. But generally, they don't work at getting you all this extra reach and engagement that they used to.
Yeah.
It's more around categorizing your content now.
Yeah, and as someone that likes to organize things into neat places and folders, I do think that if I was using, they would be about organizing content. So maybe it's you have an internal hashtag so that someone can pick up the content to post in other areas. For example, the life page on LinkedIn would work if you had a designated internal hashtag. Maybe you're running a campaign internally and want to make sure that you can measure it as accurately as you can. So it's more about your own organization and use of it as a tool versus that discoverability.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen some good examples recently of like Instagram challenges that have a hashtag, or also quite good for disclosures, PR stay, gifted. So a lot of content creators will still use hashtags as that identifier as well.
Yeah. And I think just if you are using them at the end of your post, because it supports accessibility, it's easier to read so that it doesn't break up the content by turning it blue in the middle of it.
And also, there's been a lot recently in the news around hashtags in bios. I think Elon Musk came out and just said, you know, we're not even allowing hashtags in ads as well. So I think a lot of platforms are kind of going against hashtags. But generally, your hashtags aren't going to get you loads of reach. It's the quality of your content.
Yeah, again, it's not a hack, is it? It's not going to do additional work for you. And because the search, it used to, but because the search has got so much better, we don't have to tell it what our keywords are effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about TikTok? We've talked a little bit about TikTok already, a little bit. Is it still all about viral dances? Is that how we get mass reach and followers on TikTok?
This feels like it replaced it's not about putting pictures of my breakfast, doesn't it? You know, from 10 years plus, like that's all social media is. And then it became, you know, TikTok's just about dancing. So I think what's interesting about the dancing and what we should remember and we can learn is that that is how TikTok grew so significantly, because they challenged their audience to do something and they made it really easy by telling them what to do and how to do it, to get them to kind of copy and engage with an activity. So that's you know, and they started off by targeting kind of dance schools and performing arts as an audience to build. So I think we can still learn from that. Like, if you tell your audience, your followers, to get involved and how easy it is, they will, because you're breaking down a massive create some content barrier for them. But TikTok has evolved, and it's not just about dancing. And in fact, there's, you know, if you scroll through the platform, and a recent survey by Social Pilot is actually kind of bringing out the data around images and kind of, again, the carousels and the story format, how they are also used quite a lot. So TikTok isn't just about videos either. It is about the kind of collection of images and stories as well. So I think we can easily break that myth, and also say that it's great for B2B content as well, because as you said, like the talks, book talk, STEM talk, kind of for education content as well. So yes, it is an entertainment platform, but there's also loads on there, isn't there, around like careers advice and careers support. So for me in B2B, my conversations are usually around kind of communicating your employer brand and what it's like to work here and what we're like as an organization. Not necessarily like, here's our products and demos of them, but more kind of that behind the scenes, the humanizing content that people like.
The employee generated content is definitely winning on TikTok right now. Any behind the scenes content seems to fly. I have a client that just did some packing up orders in the back room, and it's just cardboard boxes, and you know, their content performed really, really well. And then you're right, you know, B2B, I follow quite a lot of professional services on TikTok who offer really great accountancy advice, mortgage advice, solicitors. There's a few like solicitor kind of influencers as well. So there's all kinds of stuff. I think TikTok did really well with their kind of educational campaign, Learn on TikTok, a few years ago, and really encouraged people to share more of the educational or edutainment style content as well. But viral dances still perform well. I mean, look at Charlie XCX and the Brat Summer last year. I mean, people are still doing the Apple dance now on TikTok. So that will always have a place on TikTok, but it's so much more than that now, isn't it?
You don't have to do it, and your colleagues don't need to think that they're going to have to dance.
No, that's true.
Okay, one for you around, let's talk about advertising. So we've mentioned that Elon Musk is banning hashtags in his ads, so we don't need to talk about Twitter X ads, but LinkedIn ads. The feedback is always, they're really expensive.
Yeah, I think that's something that's been like ingrained in our brains, isn't it? I remember just hearing the stat a number of years ago that they're basically 3 times more expensive than Meta ads. And you're probably not going to get, you know, 1 pence, 2 pence video views on LinkedIn, because you've got to remember you are targeting a much more higher quality audience, in the sense that you can choose their industry, you can choose their job title, and you can even choose the company where they work. So you can be so specific to getting right in front of your decision maker audience. Therefore, the budget does need to be slightly higher, but it's not crazy expensive. I mean, if you think about what kind of B2B deals that you could encourage off the back of some LinkedIn ads, and what the quality of that lead is for you as a business, then suddenly the ROI of those ads does absolutely make sense. I've seen click costs as low as £1.50 cost per click on LinkedIn before, which I do think is incredibly reasonably priced if you are targeting a niche industry. And the ways to get those costs down is, where possible, to use your own data. So you've got the opportunity to upload CRM databases. You can use website data using their version of a pixel called an insight tag. You can target lists of companies, maybe that your sales team has put together on a CRM tool like HubSpot. So you can feed it your own data and then use LinkedIn's AI to identify people who are similar to that. And those are really good ways of getting your cost per click down on LinkedIn. But I think you do have to be aware that if you're targeting quite a competitive industry, and you're not using your own data, it is going to be quite expensive. So, I mean, £10, sometimes up to £20 for a click can also be possible on LinkedIn. So the key is to use your own data where possible. And also, obviously, the stronger your creative, the better your ads will perform. And something that we've been finding that works really well with LinkedIn ads is thought leader ads.
I love thought leader ads.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they? Where you can get your key decision makers, your C-suite, or your employees making the content for the campaign themselves. They're sharing the messages in a non-salesy way, very natural. It feels like they're telling stories, and you use that content, those posts, as part of your advertising campaign.
Yeah, I just, there's so many opportunities with them to get the message across quite easily as well. And around, we've said the word influencers and, kind of partners as well, if you're organizing events with your speakers and things. Let's just go back to the topic of AI, because Mark Zuckerberg has said, within a year, everything meta advertising is going to be AI. LinkedIn has got AI Accelerate and predictive within it. My view here is that, as I said earlier, I think AI are useful tools. It's not going to shortcut you understanding your target audience, as you said, your own data and what your calls to action are. And for me, one of the dangers when I've played with Accelerate AI is you put in your landing page URL and that's how it creates the campaign from it. But that's kind of assuming that your landing page is great and has all the relevant information and is kind of geared up towards advertising creative. So have you played much with the AI options in?
Yeah, I have. I'd say I've probably experimented more with Advantage Plus in Meta than on LinkedIn. Mainly the reason being, all of the clients that I do advertising for on LinkedIn have a very specific audience that they want to get in front of. So using the AI, we found, does pull in more irrelevant people, and then you have to spend more work excluding your campaign. So on Meta, I think if you are quite broad, like if you don't mind being quite broad, like if you're a Deliveroo or an Uber Eats or someone like that, great, because there are so many different people that would purchase your products. Whereas if you are quite niche, or that it's only a certain age group, or it's only a certain gender, or it's only a certain location, that's where I do find that AI at the moment can be a little unreliable. So it does pull in irrelevant audiences and looks great on your reach and impressions, but actually when you look at the quality of who is seeing those ads, is questionable. So I'm using it with caution at the moment. But I am excited about the fact that it does kind of optimize a lot for you. So it will optimize, where the best place your ads are run in placements. It will optimize the budget. So if you've got like 5 ads running at the same time, it will decide how that budget is kind of distributed based on what's performing best. So it is taking a lot of the kind of day-to-day work out of the running of the ads. But what I think is really important to state is that the consultant is still, or the marketer is still the person that can identify why things are happening. Why did the cost per click rise on that particular day, or why did the click-through rate massively increase that day? Oh, it's because we had that bit of PR out, or we were front page of the Times. So you as a marketer are the person that really joins up all of the dots, and AI can't do that yet.
Yeah, again, it's a bit like the calculator in the Excel, isn't it? It takes out some of the execution work, but does still need a good input and set of fresh eyes on it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go back to the chat, because there's a great question on the topic of B2B. Still have clients who just want to jump on any new social media bandwagon. Okay. You mentioned B2B, but if they don't have any videos or photos, are Instagram and TikTok relevant?
Oh, it's very difficult to do those platforms without any videos or photos.
Yeah.
So I think you'd have to seriously talk to the client about what you need, you know, what's going to be that absolute bare minimum content. I mean, I would say for those clients of mine that are in the same position, what has really helped is programming in a content gathering day every few months. So you're bulk creating content, you're going in and getting a load of photos on that day, or you are filming some videos on that day. So it doesn't become more an ongoing thing that they have to do every day. It's kind of once every 3 months, there is a content gathering day that will see you through. There's a lot of B-roll content that you could get, which would work, but I would try and avoid anything that looks too overtly stock now as well, because people just don't identify with that. And I think this kind of leads me onto the next myth for you, Luann, that there's so much in the news and in the social media news around how storytelling is you know, the key way that you will grow in social media, and being able to tell a good story. I don't think you can do that with stock. So what about the next myth, Luann, which is if it's not a personal story, it won't get any engagement?
Yeah, so I did see this almost word for word in my scroll as we were prepping for this session, and I've heard it in conversations as well. Like, I do a post about my business, and maybe I'm launching something or announcing something, and you know, it feels a bit tumbleweed. Something doesn't happen, and then I post a selfie, or I take a photo of something that's quite raw and in the moment, and it gets loads of reach and engagement. And I think there's a couple of things here for me. Is one, you do need a mixture of content. The personal content, people find it easier to get involved with, because it's easier for them to kind of say congratulations, or that looks great, or hope you enjoyed the event, or congratulations on the award. It's easier to write that comment. And I know that many people have a fear of writing comments if they have to share an opinion or add something to it that it's an extra kind of layer, isn't it? It's that kind of comfort zone, which you might expect needs to be done on a business related post, or here's a white paper I've written kind of thing. So it's harder. But the challenge here is that you need a mix. And if someone was to say, oh, no, my business content doesn't get any engagement, I'm not going to bother. Actually, this mix, and Ash Jones posted this from Great Influence, around how you need to be doing a bit of both. And it's your personal content that builds the know, like, and trust, but the kind of business content that lets people know what you do and the services that you offer. So you can't expect to get those numbers on everything. Don't do all of one or all of the other. But for me, I see social media content as just, as you said, storytelling, like narrating what I'm doing and what I'm working on that I can talk about, because many of us do work that we can't necessarily talk about or share due to NDAs and everything else. So it's, this is where I am today, or this is what I'm working on, or here's something I found that you might find useful. Almost like the lighter stuff is you can drip feed that until you have the big drops or the big business news that you need to announce, and then people will see it, but they won't necessarily engage with it as much, because it's harder for them to engage with it.
I think that's a really good point, that people are seeing stuff but not necessarily engaging, which is why it's important to look at the full mix of metrics, not just how many likes you've got on a post. But I've still got clients, I don't know about you, who will judge the success of their posts on how many likes it got, which feels like a very dated thing now, but even as dated as looking at how many followers you've got is a judgment of how successful you are, because actually looking at things like the engagement rates or the click-through rates or how much reach you had, how many impressions, how much LinkedIn distributed your content is also really important to look at. And just because something hasn't had likes doesn't necessarily mean people haven't seen it, taken it on board and thought, oh, I didn't know that Luann offered those services or those workshops. So I think that's really important. Do you think people are worried to share business content, because particularly opinion-led content, because they don't want to get into a debate or discussion?
They don't want to get out of their depth in it, or a bit of a fear of, and also maybe if you're employed, like, am I allowed to say this? Like, is it okay for me to say that as well? So it's just kind of, it's deep, it's kind of a deeper level of comment, isn't it, than the congratulations, well done, that looks great, which I do still think is important. And as you said, how you measure it is such a challenge as well, because I've talked before on other sessions around, like, what opportunities does it generate? Like, is there a pinch me moment, like DM that you've had from someone, or like looking at who is engaging is as important as how many people are engaging as well. And someone else I collaborate with, like, we're often WhatsApping going, did you see this person like engaged with that one, or this has happened, and then you can kind of track back opportunities, whether it's a speaking engagement or a podcast or an interview conversation, because of your ongoing content. But I think the kind of the likes and the followers is always like quite an isolated metric. Like, it's a snapshot, isn't it? But there's, like you said with the AI, like, it takes a human to add the meaning behind it, and this meant, and this will lead to, kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And annoyingly, we do kind of judge people on how many followers they've got a lot of the time. It's almost innate to us now, isn't it? But it's important that doesn't necessarily mean anything. If somebody's got 10,000 more followers than you doesn't necessarily mean that they are getting more business than you.
Yes, absolutely. But also there is one challenge that does kind of rely to a certain extent on follower numbers, and that's influencers and creators. Because if you're looking for who to partner with, you want them to have an audience. If you're putting them for, you want them to have a certain number, and of course they then will need to be authentic and a good fit. So it's, on one hand, there is a space for numbers to be high, but then other times when it's much more about quality. So I think it comes back to what your goals and objectives are as well, like what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to go a community to monetize it, you need the likes and the followers. If it's maybe more B2B, professional services, one-to-one consultancy, it's more about the kind of the smaller quality, deeper engagements that you might have in DMs versus in the public feed.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
So we talk about posting. So again, this is another one that's been around for such a long time, and the answer to this changes over time as well. When should I post? What's the best time for me to post?
My favorite question. And I would say I get asked this question on like 90% of my workshops. But there's no problem with it, because we're so conditioned to there being a key secret best time to post. And annoyingly, platforms like Hootsuite bring out reports every year that say the best time to post is 9 till 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, which is what they recently said. The key thing, I think, is when you look at your social media feeds, you'll notice that nothing is in time order. It's not chronological. It's all completely random. I was actually scrolling through LinkedIn last night, and I got into a bit of a rabbit hole, and before long started seeing content that was from last week. So it will start showing you older posts from people that you are well connected to and engage with often, just because it thinks, oh, well, she didn't engage with that post, so we'll show her that one now instead, because she's probably likely to engage with that. You're not seeing everything in time order, and you're not seeing everything either. You're seeing a highlight collection of content in your feeds. So there isn't really a best time to post anymore. more. And actually, something that a lot of consultants are now recommending is that you try and create content that is slightly evergreen, so that you're moving away from the kind of it's pub quiz tonight style posting, because that might be seen next Thursday and then it would be totally irrelevant.
Yeah, we're starting in an hour, join us in 10 minutes on social media, because it wouldn't get seen in real time.
Exactly. There's no point. And we know that the notification will kind of bump everyone anyway.
Yeah.
So I think if you are concentrating on your feed posts, you need to think that people might be seeing this next week. So how can we make it relevant whenever people see it? It's your stories content on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, even WhatsApp, if you're using WhatsApp as a business. That's more of the this is happening right now, this is happening tonight, we need more ticket sales, let's do a quick promo about that. So making sure that you've got enough of that content going out in your stories is really important. Or DMs as well, if you're using broadcasts on Instagram or communities on WhatsApp, that's again more of that real-time content. But really your feed content needs to be it needs to resonate whenever people see it. So there isn't really a best time to post, is my conclusion.
My answer to the question is always be consistent, almost like what works for you. And if it works for you to show up at 8:30 every Tuesday morning, then show up at 8:30 every Tuesday morning. And if people like your content, they'll start to look out for it as well. And if you can just set your own frequency that works for you, so that you can make it a habit rather than a chore of, oh, I need to post because I haven't done it. Like, just make it something that's easy for you to do and that you stay in control of it. I think that's a much easier way of doing it.
Yeah,
as well. It's about that habit, isn't it? We've been asked, why are all the algorithms sharing us out of date posts? I think this again is something that just appears in people's feeds, doesn't it? Like, I'm seeing everything from 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's a glitch. I personally haven't seen lots of dated stuff in my LinkedIn feed, though I know everyone else does.
You're up to date.
Maybe because I'm scrolling differently. You can on TikTok and Instagram kind of reset your recommendations. You can go into the settings and do a bit of a reset.
It's funny, isn't it? So I mentioned last night that I was seeing some really old content on LinkedIn, and that's because I was scrolling. I was looking for some specific examples for some training that I'm doing. So I had scrolled a long time on there. I'd probably been scrolling for about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You get through a lot of content. So what I was then beginning to see was the best content from last week that I hadn't seen. So it's like it delves deeper in the bucket to kind of show you stuff that is stuff that they know I'm going to want to engage with, rather than seeing more recent stuff from people that I don't really care that much about. They're looking at things like who you're DMing, who you are first level connections with, people who have kind of similar connections with you. They'll be looking at people who attended similar events, subscribe to the same newsletters, click on the same ads. So there's all these different touch points to try and figure out who are those people that mean something to you. And the algorithm is very sophisticated. And that's why whenever you see kind of all these tricks and hacks to beat the algorithm, I just don't really trust them, because it's not going to happen, is it?
Not if your content's not great to start with. No. One thing I do on LinkedIn on my desktop though is I have recent set as my default, so I don't have to do it each time, and I don't look at top. So I have recent fixed as a default. So that's something that I would do as well.
We just had a really interesting question in that links us very nicely to another myth we wanted to discuss today. So Sarah says, what's the best way to increase your follower base on LinkedIn? And one of the things I keep hearing at the moment is, oh, you've got to use LinkedIn premium pages. So is this the only way to get more followers on our company pages now, Luann?
On company pages, so again, my opinion on company pages is that you need a company page If you're a business of one or two, set it up and then possibly don't even use it, because people connect with you as individuals, have relationships with you as individuals, and you'd just be duplicating everything. However, if you're an organization with a number of employees, I recommend using the company page as a content hub and then encouraging your employees to share, comment out to your networks. But people do fixate on having followers on their company page. Yes, company pages are used for advertising as well. So again, it's a number, but pages are getting more features over time. Newsletters, for example. So some people may want to focus on that company page growth. The premium company page option, which I think is currently $99 a month, automates the following. So if people engage with your company page content, it will automatically invite them to follow your page. So there's that nice bit of automation around it. I always find that company page growth has to come from like being quite proactive and sending invites to do it, and individuals to do it as well. But to be honest, I guess there's a value in having followers on your company page in case your employees leave. There's a value to the organization of having those followers and having that activity as well. But ultimately, I don't think it's hugely about followers. And in terms of individuals getting followers on your personal page, for me, it's sending messages. It's sending those connection requests and personalizing the message with them, which is something that I do. I do have a premium account because I like to look at who's viewing my profile. I see that as the main benefit of it. I think, LinkedIn doesn't like, it's against their terms and conditions to use lots of automation tools. I think reaching out and sending DMs is where opportunities come from.
Yeah.
As well. It's not about the big numbers. So again, is followers most important? And then there is some more, automation in terms of the company page. But for me, it's content and sending messages.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip. I think from some of my clients' company pages that have seen sharp increases in followers over the last year or so, the key things that have really helped is the invite to follow option.
Yeah.
So any admin can invite. I think you get 250 invitations a month.
Yeah.
As a total, so you could split that around different admins. And what we've been doing is we'll invite someone from maybe C-suite to be an admin for the month, invite all their contacts, and then bump them off, and then invite somebody else. So that's quite useful. Obviously, ads, not necessarily in terms of building your followers, but definitely getting the word out there, building awareness of your brand, products, services. And then employee content. So the more active your employees, the more that's going to affect the overall followers of your company page. I think I've only recently for myself started investing more in my company page on LinkedIn. And I think it does add that level of credibility to our business. People can find out a bit more about who we are, the team, where we're based. And I find myself doing that for companies that I come across via their employees. So if I see the founder of a new startup, I'll click on the name of the startup and I want to find out that story. How long's it been going? Who do they work with? So it does help to paint that overall picture of a company and their success.
Yeah, when there's employees and you're using it in a slightly different way. Let's just do a couple more, because we said at the beginning, how long are we going to talk for? But we've already got through loads with some more questions, but one of these do link together. Chloe has asked about captions and, for an opening line, is it straight to the point better, or a question that joins them into a pain point? Myth, short captions, long captions, what are you seeing works best?
I have heard a lot recently that the longer your longer captions are performing better. I do think that's tied into two things we've spoken about. Is the longer the caption, the more opportunity to include searchable keywords and phrases within it. And secondly, the longer the caption, sometimes you're telling a good story, aren't you? So that means that you're telling a good story through that caption. So I would certainly experiment with expanding your caption length, particularly if you have some great value to share or you can tell a really good story through that caption. Ads, it's different. On ads, you're getting straight to the point, the shorter the better. So it is different between paid and organic. And then the other thing to think about is, really how much depth and detail do you need to go into for the purpose of that post? So if you're trying to get that traffic through to your website, you've got to leave something on the website, right, for them to click through to get that value. Whereas if it's more around engagement within LinkedIn without sending them off anywhere else, then think about ways that you can encourage that debate, that discussion, or ask people to get involved in the post as well. Yeah. So I think captions are certainly getting longer. And that's, a lot to do with SEO and storytelling.
And keeping people on the platform,
Yeah.
Not sending them off unnecessarily. The platforms want the dwell time, don't they? As well. So whether everyone reads the caption, maybe that is the hack of around discoverability and time on page, which the platforms like, and then will kind of reward you for, essentially. But going back to Chloe's question, like the first sentence, I do think is important. I think it depends. If you have multiple audiences, you might want to do a call out for a particular group. Potentially, I've seen, for example, a charity once kind of, when they were doing like payroll giving, they would do like calling employers. And then when they were talking to retails, because they had chains of shops, they were kind of calling retail colleagues. So that could work if you had something really specific. Or maybe, just absolutely, is your CRM system keeping you up at night? Kind of question to open with as well. Not in a clickbaity way, but just it's about engaging your audience, isn't it? Getting them to stop scrolling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can ask ChatGPT to come up with 20 ideas for educational hooks at the beginning of your captions for social media marketers. So again, utilize the AI to come up with some fresh ideas. I did that this morning. I was filming a video and I was trying to think of the opening line of the video. So I asked ChatGPT to help me out with some ideas. And so, mixing it up and experimenting, but there is lots of inspiration out there when you search for content hooks.
Yeah.
You're thinking about what to put in that first line of your caption.
Yeah. And I think just on that hooks in terms of video, get straight to the point, like straight in there. No kind of like, hi, how are you? Like, I thought I'd just jump on. It's like, you've got to get straight in, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true.
Yeah. Should we end on probably the other question that we get asked all the time? Probably really started this one around, November last year, the big question, like, is Blue Sky the next social media platform?
Yeah.
What's next?
I think a lot of us, I think somebody mentioned earlier, a lot of us or our clients are very interested in what the next big thing is in social media. I'll tell you my personal take on that in just a moment, but Blue Sky has been, chatted about for a while now. I think because they started on an invite only as well. It just made that kind of that viral nature, that kind of exclusivity really feel like it was so important to get that invite. And Blue Sky is still very niche. I think many people are looking for an alternative to X for reasons, I won't go into now, but I think we're all a bit kind of fed up in a way with what X has kind of turned into. At the moment, Blue Sky has 36 million global users. So that is actually quite small, especially when you compare it to Threads, which is almost 300 million. We're looking at, billions on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc. So it is very niche. And actually, a lot of the audience on Blue Sky are quite tech audiences, journalists. So they're maybe kind of they're those early adopter folk who are looking to test it out at the moment. I certainly don't think it's a platform to be on as a mainstream brand at the moment. I have got some clients testing it out. So they've got their username, they're trialing a bit of news sharing. Maybe they've set up an automation there. The Guardian newspaper has an automated feed on Blue Sky. but certainly it's not going to revolutionize your engagement overnight.
Yeah.
In the UK and US, there's only 3 to 4 million daily active users on the platform. So it doesn't feel like something that people are looking at every day either.
Yeah.
They're sort of dipping into it. So I've got to admit, my take is I don't think it's the next big social media platform. And it feels quite like early days Twitter, but I think they're going to have to release some really interesting features to really kind of grow awareness and excitement around it.
Yeah.
I think Threads has a better chance of being the next big one because they are investing so much into it and bringing out new features all the time. But again, in order to get a lot of people to shift over to Threads, I think we are going to have to see like a really exciting new feature that nobody else has. But sorry, go on, Luann.
No, I think it's fascinating that people want a similar X but don't want X, and yet I read something yesterday where Threads, now 2 years old, that the numbers are almost similar to X in terms of daily active users, yet Blue Sky is still really low. And it isn't just about the number, it is about, you know, finding the right space. But again, the conversations I had around Blue Sky at a conference a few months ago was like, it felt like a short-term place while things were kind of settling down, or, you know, finding the home that they really wanted, that they used to have on X.
Yeah,
there's still a gap, but we haven't got the answer.
We really love Threads at Avocado Social for following social media news. Like there's some great content creators on there, like Leah Haberman and Matt Navarra, who are sharing things kind of as and when they're announced. So if you're looking to stay on top of the latest social media trends and news, it's a great platform to be on. But I actually think the next big thing is WhatsApp. I mean, it's not new, but it's the most used social media platform in the UK. And more businesses are thinking about how they could utilize a WhatsApp community to send out alerts, news, have conversations with their customers.
Yeah, and you know, it's about communities as well. Like, we haven't even talked about communities. That could be a whole nother chat around, you know, the value of communities, and that's where conversations are happening. And I do see more going on in WhatsApp groups now, which you don't necessarily know about either. You kind of, you know, you get told about them or invited into them and become aware of their existence. And then when you get in there, they're really valuable. Quick question, Chloe, is there a bigger downside to remaining on X for political reasons or leaving X and losing a potential audience? Chloe, because I know you well, I have got a blog on this with some kind of pros and cons as well. But actually, again, I had a conversation this week around how X can still be valuable for engaging with journalists and crisis management, that kind of in the moment if something's happening. So there's kind of, I think the conversation around X in particular is about more than social media and it being a marketing tool. It is around ethics and values and alignment and purpose.
I'd say of the clients I have that have kind of left X or stopped utilizing it, they were just finding that it wasn't as an effective mass marketing tool as it once was, particularly for driving engagement and clicks. And they still have a presence there, but they've deprioritized it. So they're putting, you know, 1 or 2 pieces of content up there a month rather than daily content. Obviously you need to have a deep dive into your stats. You need to understand what your purpose is for using it as well. But of the 3 clients I have that have left it in the last year, none of them have kind of seen any bad effect of doing so. So resource thing as well, isn't it?
Well, and do you know what? It doesn't hurt to review whether we should still be on a platform or not and shift around, because otherwise, you know, what happens is you just keep on doing what you've always done. And, you know, it did get thrown up in the air. So I think kind of almost that opportunity to evaluate and have the conversations around, should we still be there? Why are we there? Is it achieving things? Has actually been useful for many different reasons.
Yeah, you've just got to know what your purpose is for using it.
Yeah. Oh, Dan, as a journalist, X is still useful, so it's still in there. It's still in the mix
Still in the
for
mix.
some reasons.
Still in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mix.
I think we have got through our list, which was perfect timing, and there's been some great ones in the chat as well. If people do think of any others, or if you're watching this on record, the chat stays open, so please do post in there. I think Alison will probably do this again sometime, maybe revisit the ones again that we're always asked, see if the answers have changed, and discuss what new ones have come up.
Yes, I'm sure
On
there'll
our
be some
training
more.
and conversations. I think hopefully people who have watched this have found it useful, and I think it's just quite good to chat about it and talk to each other as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for your questions, everybody. It's great to hear your thoughts and views around these social media myths. So do stay in touch and connect with us both. And yeah, see you on the next one.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Bye.